John Holloway, a 58-year-old retired entrepreneur, had spent his life building a successful business and securing a comfortable future for his wife, Linda, and their 2 adult children, Melissa and Patrick. He had always been devoted to his family, never questioning their loyalty. But retirement brought unexpected revelations. While going through some of his late father's belongings, John uncovered a box of letters. In them, his father revealed a hidden inheritance, an enormous estate, and a large sum of money intended solely for John's use in his later years. The instructions were clear: safeguard it within a family trust and pass it down with care. What John didn't know was that Linda had already found the letters. Quietly, she joined forces with Melissa and Patrick to devise a plan to seize the entire inheritance. They started subtly, expressing concern for John's health and suggesting it would be safer to put his assets in their names. Linda played the part of the worried wife. Melissa and Patrick acted like dependable children, convincing John they were ready to take on the responsibility. At first, John trusted them, but soon, he noticed odd behavior, hushed conversations, missing documents, and growing pressure to hand over control. His suspicions grew, and instead of confronting them directly, John acted quietly. He revised his will, transferring his estate into a secure trust, and made sure his true intentions were clearly documented elsewhere. When John finally confronted Linda, she denied everything, but the evidence, collected documents, behavior patterns, and inconsistencies was too strong to ignore. Feeling deeply betrayed, John made a bold decision. He cut Linda, Melissa, and Patrick out of the main inheritance and named his estranged younger brother, Robert, as the new beneficiary. Though hurt, John didn't want his family to suffer. He left Linda and the children small provisions, enough to live on, but far less than what they had tried to take. After John's passing, however, Linda, Melissa, and Patrick re-emerged, furious. They claimed John's final will had been altered under suspicious circumstances, insisting they were the rightful heirs. They hired lawyers and filed a lawsuit, challenging the trust's legitimacy. They alleged that John, in his old age, had been manipulated by Robert. Robert, shocked to find himself at the heart of a legal storm, had simply followed John's instructions. The trust left in his care was meant to preserve the family's wealth for future generations. But now, he found himself defending his brother's wishes in court. In court, Linda and her children painted a grim picture: John as a vulnerable man, and Robert as a manipulative outsider who had swooped in at the last minute. What they didn't expect was the evidence John had left behind. Robert's legal team presented everything: audio recordings, signed letters, and financial records detailing John's concerns and intentions. There was even a personal statement from John, explaining exactly why he had changed his will. As the court case began slipping out of her control, Linda changed tactics, abandoning the legal route for a more public approach. She launched a media campaign, appealing to public sympathy. She portrayed John as a frail, confused man manipulated in his final days. She painted Robert as the outsider who had preyed on her vulnerable husband. The media picked up the story, news outlets covered every twist, and public opinion became deeply divided. As the spectacle unfolded, Melissa began to feel the weight of what they were doing. The lies, the manipulation, it all felt wrong. One night, she confided in Patrick, asking whether they should walk away from something their father clearly hadn't meant for them. But Patrick was unmoved. To him, this wasn't just about money, it was about legacy, status, and entitlement. He believed everything John had built should naturally belong to him, regardless of the will. As the legal battle dragged on, Robert's legal team revealed their final piece of evidence: a video message John had recorded shortly before his death. In the video, John looked into the camera and directly addressed his family. He spoke calmly but firmly, explaining why he had changed his will. He expressed heartbreak over Linda's manipulations, Patrick's arrogance, and Melissa's false loyalty. "If you truly respect my legacy," he said, "you will honor this decision and stop tearing the family apart." It was a powerful moment, and the court was swayed. The judge upheld John's trust. Linda, Melissa, and Patrick were awarded only the small provisions John had originally left them. The remainder of the estate remained under Robert's stewardship, just as John had intended. But the battle wasn't over, not for Linda and Patrick. Humiliated and unwilling to accept the loss, Linda tried again. She reached out to John's former business contacts, hoping to dig up dirt on Robert. She wasn't just angry about the money, she was enraged that her betrayal had been exposed to the world. Her once respected reputation was now stained with public shame. Meanwhile, Patrick grew bitter. Unable to let go, he began spreading rumors in the community. On social media, he posted misleading stories and doctored videos, accusing Robert of coercion and fraud. His campaign of lies, however, backfired. Lawsuits for defamation soon followed, pushing him toward financial collapse. Melissa, on the other hand, could no longer bear the guilt. She remembered the father who had always supported her, the man whose love had been constant. Her role in betraying him haunted her. In a quiet moment of courage, she reached out to Robert and asked to meet. Robert was skeptical, but agreed. In a neutral setting, Melissa offered a heartfelt apology. She admitted she had let greed and family pressure cloud her judgment. "I made a terrible mistake," she said, "and I'm sorry for the pain we caused." Moved by her sincerity, Robert didn't offer her money, but he did offer something else. He invited her to help manage the charitable projects funded by John's estate. "If you want to honor your father," he said, "this is how." Melissa accepted. She began working alongside Robert, learning about the causes John had cared for: education, healthcare, community development. Gradually, she found purpose in giving back. Though the rift with her mother and brother remained, Melissa felt closer to her father's spirit than she had in years. Back in Linda and Patrick's world, things continued to unravel. Patrick's reckless lies caught up with him. The lawsuits drained his finances and further destroyed his credibility. Linda, once admired in her social circle, became a symbol of greed and manipulation. Friends distanced themselves. She was left alone, disgraced and bitter. In one final attempt, Linda wrote a desperate letter to the trust board, accusing Robert of fraud and pleading for a review. But the board, having full documentation of John's intentions, swiftly dismissed her claim. In the end, Linda, Patrick, and Melissa faced the consequences of their choices. Melissa found redemption. Patrick lost everything chasing a legacy he never earned. And Linda, consumed by revenge, was left with nothing but regret. The fortune they had tried so hard to steal became a symbol not of wealth, but of the cost of betrayal. After a flurry of accusations, the case finally came to a close, leaving Linda and Patrick with no legal avenues left. They had lost everything they had fought for. Years passed, and Melissa had become a central figure in the foundation managing her father's legacy. She helped turn the estate into a hub for community support, offering programs, scholarships, and mentorships inspired by her father's values. Her once troubled life now had direction, and she had let go of the bitterness that had once divided her family. Linda and Patrick, however, lived with the weight of what they had lost. Their obsession with the inheritance had backfired. Patrick, facing the fallout from defamation lawsuits, struggled to find work. His reputation was damaged beyond repair, and even close friends had slowly distanced themselves. He bounced from job to job, growing more isolated and resentful with each passing year. Linda, who had once been proud and well-connected, also found herself shut out of the life she once knew. The inheritance she felt she deserved became a constant reminder of her defeat. Her bitterness toward Robert and Melissa only grew deeper, blaming Robert for stealing her husband's wealth and Melissa for siding with him. Meanwhile, Melissa thrived. She worked closely with Robert to honor her father's memory, channeling her energy into meaningful causes. Each new project helped her move forward. The guilt she once carried was now replaced with purpose. Eventually, Melissa made a brave decision. She reached out to her mother and brother, inviting them to an upcoming event at the foundation, a dedication ceremony for a new community center named after John. Patrick refused, claiming she only wanted to show off, but Linda was curious. Despite her resentment, Part of her still cared about the family legacy, and she couldn't help but wonder what Melissa had built. When Linda arrived at the event, she masked her discomfort with forced smiles. As Melissa spoke about their father's values, kindness, generosity, and service, something shifted. For the first time, Linda saw what her daughter had become, someone who truly understood what John had stood for. That day, Linda felt the sting of regret. While she and Patrick had chased after wealth, Melissa had preserved something far more lasting, John's spirit and ideals. After the ceremony, Melissa approached her mother with a cautious smile and offered a chance to reconnect. Linda, torn between pride and shame, paused, but then nodded. She saw in Melissa a strength she had never acknowledged before. Their relationship remained fragile, but that day marked a turning point, a small step toward healing what had once been broken. Patrick, unable to let go of his resentment, spiraled further into self-destruction. Isolated and angry, he refused to move on. Now and then, he would contact Melissa not to reconcile, but to demand money, insisting she had stolen their father's legacy. Melissa always responded calmly, explaining that the foundation was dedicated to public good, not personal gain, but Patrick didn't want to listen. Each rejection only deepened his bitterness and pushed him further into solitude. While Patrick remained trapped in the past, Melissa flourished. Her work at the foundation grew in scope and impact. She channeled her energy into fulfilling her father's vision, finding peace and meaning in service to others. Under Robert's mentorship and eventual trust, she took on greater responsibility, leading the foundation into a new era. Over the years, Melissa expanded its reach, launching youth mentorships, educational grants, and housing initiatives. The foundation became a beacon of hope not only in their community, but statewide. Her life was no longer shaped by guilt or conflict, but by purpose. Linda, still burdened by past regrets, began to attend some of the foundation's public events. Watching her daughter speak passionately about John's values stirred something within her. Slowly, her resentment gave way to reflection. She started volunteering behind the scenes, sorting donations, helping with community outreach, seeking her own form of redemption. One evening, following a celebration marking the foundation's anniversary, Melissa and Linda shared a quiet moment together. For the first time in years, Linda opened up. With tears in her eyes, she apologized for the manipulation, the lies, the years lost to greed. She admitted her actions had been driven by fear of being forgotten, of losing everything. Melissa embraced her. Though the past couldn't be erased, forgiveness offered them both a new beginning. Their relationship, once fractured, had slowly mended into something honest and real. But Patrick remained distant, his life shaped by the very bitterness he refused to release. He made no effort to reconnect beyond his occasional, angry demands for money. Over time, even those stopped. Then, one day, Melissa received news that Patrick had been arrested following a drunken altercation. She went to see him, hoping, perhaps for the last time, to offer help. But even at his lowest, Patrick refused. He blamed her for everything, for his downfall, for his loneliness, for the life he believed was stolen from him. Melissa left the jail with a heavy heart, finally understanding that some wounds can't be healed by kindness alone. In the years that followed, Melissa became a respected figure across the state, not just for her leadership, but for the grace with which she carried her past. The foundation, once just a name on legal documents, became a living legacy of John Holloway's values, compassion, integrity, and service. Linda, too, found purpose in supporting her daughter's mission. Though she could never fully undo the damage of her past, she took comfort in knowing she had finally honored John's memory in her own way. Patrick faded further into obscurity, a painful reminder of the cost of entitlement and unchecked resentment. While his life dwindled in isolation, Melissa and Linda built something lasting, something rooted not in inheritance, but in healing. In the end, John's legacy wasn't found in money or property. It lived on in the lives uplifted, the communities changed, and in the resilience of those who chose to grow from pain rather than be defined by it. His inheritance became a story of transformation, proof that even the deepest wounds can lead to new beginnings.